book on Swaraj as a text on satanity. It's a very that's as, you know, it's Gandhi is looking at a very clear vision on a demonic civilization, a totally destructive civilization. Its blood is actually a blood of violence, and that's why I don't think that sometimes Hind Swaraj really deals with India or Malaysia or any of these countries. I think sometimes that Hind Swaraj is basically a reflection of what he has gone through in Europe, because he writes it only after his sojourn in Europe. And I think that what he is trying to convey is, if you don't deal with this civilization with proper care, then it's going to devour you. And it devours you in a nihilistic sense. It's not that, you know, sometimes we in our tradition are brought up on this notion of, you know, losing ourselves in something. I mean, the Atman loses itself in the absolute, and all those, we lose ourselves in nature. But that is always with a sense of fulfillment. But the devouring of industrial civilization is nihilistic. I mean, it totally obliterates. It leaves nothing. There's no trace of the individual left. And he saw it very clearly in industrial civilization. He saw what industrial civilization does to human beings. I mean, he saw that it reduces them to ciphers, to numbers, to practically to zeros. And in place of millions of vibrant, caring individuals, you have a system which survives only on basically eating into the vitals of human beings all over. And not just human beings, but human beings in a very large sense, as you know, human beings as a representative of nature, of all sentient human beings, of nature itself, of trees, animals, insects, microbes. And you can see this fear in his eyes, almost a sort of, you know, fear and desperation. So that it's the only text, as a matter of fact, where at the end he comes out with this remarkable statement that if any of you or anyone is involved in trying to propagate this type of civilization, what he calls this Western bourgeois style of living, he says my only punishment would be for him is to banish him for lifetime to the animals. So penal colony of the animals. Now, Gandhiji was a very gentle person. He never used very harsh terms. But the only time I've found him using these type of very absolutist, radical, sort of, you know, totally rejecting type of statements is in Hind Swaraj, and that's only in relation to this whole industrial culture that has been erected over all of us. And today, 100 years later, we can still see that book, and we can see in it the seeds of all the thinkers that have come afterwards. All of them have instinctively seen and sensed that human beings will survive only if they kill industrial culture. If they don't take any efforts to do so, if they don't take any efforts to protect their own identities, their sense of worth, their ability to do things, to be creative, to contribute to life, not civilization, to life, then in a certain sense the human story is all over. Because the purpose of industrial culture is not to promote the interests of human beings or of life on the planet. The purpose of industrial culture is to establish a mindless system of production, process nature endlessly till there is nothing left. I think that for me is the reason why people like me continue with our type of work, with that type of vehemence, that sense of determination, that sense of, almost deep sense of rage. Because I'm really convinced that unless we take this man's perspective given 100 years ago and make it part of our lives, there's not much chance that whatever we are doing is of any significance whatsoever. If the direction which Hindu Swaraj critiques is wrong, then the answer is also inbuilt into Hindu Swaraj, that you go in reverse. You don't go backward, but you go in reverse, or you go in the opposite direction. I think using the figure of opposite is probably the most apt. If the direction is large scale, the opposite direction would be small scale. If the direction is having huge communities where people interact on the basis of their commerce or their trade, but not on the basis of their own traditions, then the direction would be move back into smaller communities, protect villages, protect the life of village communities, protect those trades which enable those type of traditions to survive. If the direction is to reduce the impact of industrial culture, then the direction would be to increase our commitment to organicism, to organic lives, to organic agriculture, to dealing with our food in different ways, that we don't subject our food to industrial processing, that we eat food that is unprocessed, that is taken straight away from the ground, that is taken straight away from animals and so on. So I think that that principle is very well accepted. So as Jinan would say, for example, the text has enabled enormous amount of centralization to take place. So then you detextualize yourself and you move into a world in which the text and the book and all these things don't have that much importance, where real felt living, relying fully on all your 5 or 6 senses awakened, made alive, that would again be very important. If you look at an education system where you have ended up in assembly line production of human beings, where you give that up and you move in a opposite direction, where children once again become the centers of their own learning, and they move and they direct their own discovery of this world and of human beings. So I think as a matter of even for those who wish to seek for solutions on an intellectual level, this is very clear. You can't continue with a sense of giganticism, mega trends, huge metropolises, large institutions, and enormous corporations which straddle several nations across the globe, and feel that somehow or the other you can still have the other. No, it has to be a conscious turnaround, a conscious movement away from all those trends which we have seen in the last 200 years, and in literally the opposite direction. And if you look at it that way, then the things that you should commit yourself to are apparent. You don't need to read a scriptural book on it. You don't need to read a wise man on it. You don't need to read 200 tomes on it. It's there for a common sense person. He would see it